Vehine chosin kipshuto yesh lomar. Now chosin in its simple sense we can explain banim are children. Kitaperish Rashi Vehaya Chav Gimel Yud Ches, like Rashi explains in Yeshayahu Al Pasuk V'lo Yechsan V'lo Yanchiluhu Livneim. He says they will not inherit in two ways, Liachasan and Yanchil. Both of them mean inheritance to children. So Yachazan could even mean they will lo Yachasan, they will not have children, lo Yanchilu, and they will not inherit it to them. V'chein Perush Rashi b'Gemara d'Shabbos daf lamed aleph amud aleph chosin zeh seder nashim. That chosin refers to the order of the laws of women, chosin lashon yoshim, and chosin is a language of inheritance, al yidei ha'ish and noldim yoshim, and through the women, children who inherit are born. Im kain chosin unyan nachal of Yerusha. If so, chosin is an idea of inheritance. Like it says, the inheritance of Hashem are children. And it's implied there that this drawing down of children comes from the world to come, from Bina, Shabbos, Kalus Atik, that in Bina you have the revelation of Atik. So from Keser, so children come from Bina, which has the revelation of Keser. V'nikra nachlas Vehaya, and it's called the inheritance of Hashem. Shuhu Tiferes, that the name Vehaya corresponds with the sphere of Tiferes, that goes up to Keser, and Nikra Mazla, that's called the Mazel. Umamshich Misham B'nei, and it brings from their children, Umashpil Malchus, and gives the Malchus. Kibani B'Mazla Talya Shua Keser, because children are dependent on the Mazal, which is Keser. So to bring out children from Bina, because it has a Hamshach from Keser, from the Mazal, and it brings it from Nachal Savaya, which is Tiferes, to Malchus. V'ayin b'Likutei Torah b'Shir Hashirim b'Dibur HaMaschil Levar Hadvarim al Pasuk Shishim Yemei Malachos. And look in Likutei Torah and Shir Hashirim, in the Mamar that explains about the 60, that there are 60 queens, Shekoach ha'olad nimshach memakom gavoa, that the strength to give birth is drawn from a very high place. And this is the idea that he established for him from it a building that's an edifice that's forever. I know that through the uniting of the masculine and the feminine, you have a revelation of that which is higher than both of them. Also in avoda, in service of Hashem. So the midos, the emotional attributes of avira v'rachamim, are love and fear and mercy. Shem noldim abba v'ima, shem chochma bina, which are born from the mother and the father, which are the wisdom and understanding. That comes the emotions for serving Hashem, love and fear, and so forth. So there's the children coming from chochma and bina. But there's a concept where you have the emotions, the son has a greater strength than the father. The emotions are stronger than the intellect that bore them, and that is because emotions are rooted in what's beyond intellect. And above, in the spiritual realms, this is the idea that Ziranpin is united and dependent upon Atika Kadisha. Like it's brought in Torah or Pashas Yisro, concerning how the avos are their merkava, because the avos are chagas, and they're dependent on something higher than mochin. Itecha kadisha talia avim can move on perish banim ba'avoda zeu holdas hamidos avavira amitim. If so, the concept of having children in the service of Hashem, this is the creation of emotions, true love and fear. Vehaya mashikasu b'Torah orso parshas mishpatim b'dibur hamaschil lo tiyeh mishakela v'akara. Look in Torah or mishpatim, where on the Mamar that there won't be a barren or a woman who is miscarries. With that talks about the idea of children as well, love and fear from an intellect. And the concept of inheritance spiritually, we can say in a person, like it's brought in Zohar Hazinu, perhaps in the Idra, begin the high ben notil simoni the abba ve'ima, because the son takes the signs of the mother and the father, kridas, which is knowledge that abba is chokhmah bina, and the son takes das the husadus the tarvaihu, which is a testimony on both of them, on the mother and the father. Vahai ben ikri bukhra, and the son is called the firstborn. Like it says, my firstborn son Israel, that he inherited the inheritance of the mother and the father. That das is the inheritance of the mother and the father. Not till simani de ava. And that's the concept of tefillin. Bezorah chilek gimel veschan and dafresh samach beis amud beis not till lon vav vis atabrehu chulu. That he takes, the Vav takes them, the Chacham and the Bina, and has a crown of them. So the Vav corresponds with Zah, and it has a crown of Chacham and Bina and Das. So too it says in Ori Or that inheritance is a concept of Chacham and Bina of Zeranpin, which is the concept of Tefillin. V'chein aliyas parts of b'makom chavero zeh nekra Yerusha, so to the elevation of the parts of, to the place of the higher parts of, that's called an inheritance. So if one parts of goes up to the level of the other parts of, we call that an inheritance of the other parts of. This is also the idea that the name should be complete. That Yud K should shine into Vav K, an inheritance of the levels becoming equal, of the Partsufim equalizing, or being elevated to the same level. Look what it says in Likutei Torah in the Mamar of Re'eh, about how you have this covering of Yud K, that the name is not complete. You only have Yud K, not Vav K Vainu Mash, Yerusha. And that is all to say that this concept of what shines into Ziranpin from of wisdom and understanding is called an inheritance. And look what's brought in Likutei Torah in Torah Tziva. That has the Torah was commanded, that Moshe commanded it as an inheritance. This is part of the idea of an inheritance of Chacham and Bina, that's Torah. And look what's brought concerning the two crowns that Zera Anpin receives from the mother and the father in the Mamar, that these are the countings of the Mishkan and so forth. And this is the concept of a testimony to Israel, and like we said before, the Husadus or the Tarvayu, that's a testimony for both the mother and the father. V'ayin b'Torah Or, Pashas told us b'Abir al Pasuk Mayim Rabim Minyan Das Elyon. In Pashas told us in Torah Or concerning the mighty waters, concerning the idea of the supernal das between Chachma and Bina, Shemam Shech B'Zer Anpin Hamid or Shelamayla Masechel, that draws into Zer Anpin the emotional attributes that are beyond intellect. So that's the Das Elyon. So the regular Das brings the emotions that are below intellect, but the Das Elyon brings down into Zoh the midos that are beyond intellect. That's why they call it Das Elyon. This is also a concept of edus, of Das Yisrael to Yisrael. So that's a sadusa, is a concept of testimony, is a concept of Das or edus, which is Das. It calls it when you're chosin v'yerusha, and this is all an idea of an inheritance that we call chosin ulechein, and therefore al yidei ze nimshach hakoach ba'adam mebechinas chasin ka. This drink draws down the strength in a person from the idea of the strength of Yud K, or the inheritance of Yud K, that a person can rule over their Yetzer. Amrazal b'medrash Rabbah, that our sages said medrash Rabbah Parshas Chaye, Parsha Nuntes, al pasuk Vaya Vashem birachas Avram bakol, that Hashem blessed Avram overall, shishlitu biyitzro, that he made him rule over his Yetzer. That this should rule over his Yetzer, so that it happens through a bracha. Vashem birachas Avram bakol. So you have this bracha from above, an inheritance from above, a chasin ka, to rule over your Yetzer. Ve'im kein al derech zekan inyan chosen. So to hear, if so to hear the concerning the concept of chosen and inheritance, Masha Kodesh Baruch Hu man tchil chochma ubina v'das la'adam, that the Holy One blessed be He gives as an inheritance wisdom and understanding and knowledge to the person. Shezer nikra Yerusha, that's called an inheritance. Al yidei zenosin l'koach sheyeshali b'yitzro. This gives him the strength to rule over his inclination. Look what's brought on another place on the verse on the day that he inherits to his sons, like the concept of to inherit to my loved one a yesh. Yesh and yesh is also a concept of chachma bina, that you have chachma kana bina is gematria yesh. So that's lan chilo vayesh, is to inherit them chachma bina, which is the mind ruling over the heart. Kana chachma kana bina beis pamim kana begematria yesh vayin b'mederesh tilim al pasuk lam natseach al hanichilos chulu. Look what's brought in Medrash Tilim on the verse, a song about the inheritances. Nichilos being from Lashon inheritances as well. Kitzer beis masif zeh, the second kitzer from the sif. Chosin Yerusha Banim. Chosin refers to the inheritance of children. V'gam kin tokef, and also a concept of strength. Ki b'nei b'mazlatalia. And now he ties it into the other parish of Chosin, which is strength. That why is it an inheritance? Because it's coming from such a high, strong place from the mazla. Binyan adiyad, an edifice that's forever. That shows a strength to it. Ba'avod, the banim hulados hamidus avavira amitim, and in service of Hashem, the children are the giving birth to emotions that are true love and fear, like he brings about, that this is ruling over the heart and the Yetzer. And the concept of inheritance above refers to Zir Anpin getting an inheritance from the mother and the father. That is, that it shines into Zir Anpin from the essence of Chachma Bina and not only a glimmer. That's an idea that the name should be complete. Chasim Ka, the inheritance of Yud K, or the strength of Yud K, Hepech Mashin Hashem Shalom, the opposite of when the name is not complete. So Chasim Ka refers to the strength of Yud K when it becomes complete, the inheritance of Yud K when you have Yud K Vav K, or that you have the completion of the idea. You have this idea, and you have the nullification of the intellect meir behamidos, that when that state of nullification shines into the emotions to give it a bittul, and this brings down also the idea of the strength and the chosin to rule over the Yetzer. This inheritance is also a language of strength of ruling over the Yetzer. like we brought by Avraham, Birachas Avraham Bakol Shishlitu B'Yitro V'zeu Lahanchilo Avayesh. And this is also what it says, to give my loved one an inheritance of the Yesh of Chochmah Bina, Kanei Chochmah Kanei Bina.